Hey everyone, Mike from Morton Lights here. Just want to go through my audio setup today, specifically around the compressor and the use of it, because there's been a few questions about it, so may as well show you all through to end to end. So starting off, inside the main control box there's a FPP instance in there with a Sound Blaster Play 3. I used to have it coming out of this audio cable here, but I was having some noise issues this year, so at the moment I've just tucked a USB cable across, and that's the Sound Blaster sitting here now, well and truly away from all of the electrical equipment in there. I think it's the change in the power supply. I've changed one of the main house power supplies over to a much larger one this year. So the audio comes out of the Play 3. This is a 4-channel compressor, which means we can run 4 independent channels, or it can run as 2 stereo pairs, which is how I've got it set up for the latter. The first stereo pair is for the transmitter, the second stereo pair is for the amplifier, and you'll see that I've got the settings on these things set differently to give me a difference in behaviour. So there's a cable here, comes in, I've actually just wired it up so it splits into the 2 inputs in parallel, and then coming out of the outputs here into the amplifier, into the transmitter, and out of the other outputs via an isolation transformer into this little amplifier here, which drives the speakers that are sitting in the hedge. It's a rubbish little amp, but it causes a ground loop, which is why I've got that isolation transformer on there. Seems to pick it up quite well. So if we have a quick look at the compressor here, it's got sort of 2 main functions. You've got the compressor function on these 3 knobs, these 4 knobs, and you've got the a gate here. So what the gate does is, until the signal reaches a certain threshold as determined by this knob, the output's cut off. So you can see here I've got a red light here. If I turn that down to 0, we'll get a green light, which basically says that the signal's coming in. And if I sort of set it on the line, you can see that both lights are on, which means it's very quickly going in and out. Now, the reason why I'm using the gate, and I've set it so that it just turns off, is all of the noise that comes from the sound card. There's a constant like sort of staticky noise from the digital circuitry, which is a bit crap. By setting that gate there, it basically means when there's no audio playing, there's no sound coming from that Sound Blaster into the rest of the system. So all 4 gates are set, and you can see all 4 gates are shut at the moment with their red lights. You get 2 meters. One is the output level, input or output level. So depending on this switch here, that's when that's on, that's the output. When that's in, that's the input level. And I'll show you the function of that later with the meters. And then this is the gain reduction. So basically what a compressor does is, once it reaches, the sound reaches the threshold set by that, it amplifies it by this ratio. So in this case, once the signal is over negative, I'm going to guess about negative 25 dB, it's going to start applying a compression ratio of roughly 6 to 1. So for every 6 dB the input signal goes up, the output's only going to go up 1 dB. And that's basically what that is. The last knob here, this knob here, is a gain control. So obviously this is going to reduce the gain quite substantially. This brings it back up to where I want it to be. And the last one here is a limiter, and I don't use that. You'd use that in a stage situation, so you don't exceed certain thresholds. I could potentially use it on the transmitter so I don't force over modulation, but I don't, just because if I hit it, it's going to sound weird. So what I've got is I've got quite an aggressive compression here. You can see that that's compressing, like I said, about 6 to 1. If we come over here, this is only compressing at about 2 to 1 on the speakers, and it's kicking in here at about negative 12 dB as opposed to negative 25 or something like that. So this kicks in a lot sooner for the transmitter. So what I'm going to do, I've got my other phone here, and I'm going to play a sequence out of FPP so we can see what those lights do and why this is really cool and handy. So if I just hit play, let me pick a louder song like this one here. What we can start to see here, let me just play the song that I wanted to play. Let me just turn it to the right song. Hold on. There we go. Okay, so FPP was saying it was playing a certain song, but actually wasn't. Now you can see here the output level is going down it's getting reduced by, and it's not focusing, about 15 dB, but then we're hitting just to the 0 dB or plus 6 dB output. All right, if I look at the input, it's pretty much not doing anything. It's actually boosting it ever so slightly. If I turn that back on, you can sort of see it goes up into the yellows where it's not. And if we come over to the speaker section, it's pretty much doing the same thing. It's giving it a very slight boost. Now this is with FPP volume set to 80, which means that, you know, based on my amplifier volume setting or whatever, I get a certain level out in the front yard and everything works well. Now, as I turn down the input, so because the transmitter is compressing quite heavily, it means that the input signal gets chopped and then boosted back up. If I drop it down so it's a bit lower, it's going to get, so this is now at a level of 40. 46. So what we can see here is we are just tickling the 6 dB LED. The compression is considerably less. The gate is cutting in and out, so I wouldn't run it this low because that would sound like absolute rubbish. But if we look over at the speaker, it's doing nothing in comparison. If I push that back up to 75, you can see the speaker's doing something, and this guy here is compressing. If I put it down to something realistic, let me just take it down to say 60, that's where I normally go down to. You can still see we're hitting that 0 dB light in the left-hand compressor in here, right? But this is significantly reduced on this side. So it allows me to control the speaker volume from FPP without moderately affecting the transmission level. The other cool thing that it does is because essentially you're cutting it and then boosting it, you're cutting the loud bits and boosting it overall, which means the quiet bits get boosted. It's essentially nerfing all the dynamic range. So essentially the difference between loud and quiet, which means for a transmission is really handy because it means that you don't have to keep fiddling with the radio to, you know, on a quiet song, a loud song. You don't get these really quiet bits where, you know, the noise of the system takes over and things like that. So that's essentially my compressor setup. I haven't got any of the transmitter or amplifier turned on at the moment, but obviously we can see what's going on here. If I go here, we can see that, oh, it's the end of the song. Let me find it, see what song's coming on next. Yeah, let's get one which has got a fair bit of movement in it. This one here. So you can see that one there. It's relatively quiet at the start, so it's not compressing that much, but we are still hitting almost that 0 dB out, whereas on the speaker side it's saying a lot lower. And then as this song picks up, you'll see the bass drums sort of kick in and these ones will start flicking a bit more. Now this is on 60. If I push FPP up again, so this is at 93 now. So you can see I'm really starting to hit the yellow light here. This is compressing on the transmitter to no end, but the difference there between 93 and 57, oh, Wi-Fi not working, no, it's not turning back down again, is quite minimal. There you go, I'll turn that back down, and you can see that the output levels are a lot lower on the things. So that's essentially the reason for it. Signal comes in from FPP, splits to the two sides, set differently, so high compression for the transmission, low compression for the speaker. Allows me to play with my FPP volume slider quite well, which then means that I can schedule, and I do schedule the thing to get quieter over the night. So at, you know, at 9 PM and I think again at 10 PM it drops down by like 10 or something in the FPP volume level. That's it. Hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, reach out on ACL if you've got any questions or in the comments below. Thank you.